Welcome back. My name is Dee, and this is Dee's Bookish Musings, where I'm sharing my love for reading at my own pace. Welcome. If you are new here, I do invite you to subscribe. If you like all things books, I do a variety of different type of bookish related videos here. And also, if you're into health and fitness, I am sharing a Fit to 50 fitness diary every Friday between 8 and 10 on my personal fitness journey. So if you're interested in that, tune in on those days. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this video. And so this is a time of year where creators, they're analyzing their reading year, how it went, books that stood out to them, their favorite authors, their favorite books and things like that. And I'm going to do that also, but also be talking about how I am moving into a new year, a new me, of course, new year, new me in books. And what I mean by that is that looking over 2025, like the books that I've read and things like that, I realized that I wasn't reading what I am naturally drawn to for whatever reason. Mostly because I'm a mood reader and I do watch a lot of creators and things like that. I do get influenced. And so I think I was influenced, y'all, a bit too much in 2025. I read pretty much off the cuff, off the script, which is good because I want to be an intentional reader, but I also want to read things that I like, I naturally like, and not because someone else necessarily recommended it. I do know my taste, but for some reason, I just wasn't reading those type of books. I was just mood reading, which is okay, but I want to read more of what the books that I like to read. And unfortunately, those books are a bit on the dark, could be on the dark, heavy side, but that's what I like. But not always, right? Not always. First, before I get into that, I'm going to show the 3 books. It's only 3 books, y'all. That's how my reading year went. I only had, if I had to choose 3 books, and I looked over like my Goodreads list, which I think I am going to be giving up Goodreads in 2026, and just using my journal or going with Storygraph. But as I was looking at my Goodreads journal, I realized that I did not read very many standout books. Now I had several 5-star books, but they weren't necessarily standout, and so I'm going to show you the books that really stood out, that I recommend for people to read if you like these type of books. Okay, so this is no surprise. This was the first book that I read, Cane River by Lolita Tatamy. Came out of the woodwork, right? I didn't even know anything about this book. I did a read along with this book with Freeform Lady here. This book was a chunker, so I was like, what have I got myself into? But y'all, this was like my number 1 book. It still is. Nothing has topped this book in all genres, but especially historical fiction. This book it was just absolutely so good. It's a historical fiction. It's a multi-generational narrative, or loosely based on a real family. It's loosely based on the author's family, right? She took events that really happened and improvised or added her liberties to creating a story of 3 or 4 of women whose lives began in slavery and ended at emancipation, and all the things that they had to grapple through in every generation. I love this. This will be a reread for me, probably. Not sure if I'm going to do it in 2026, but I do want to reread this book. So this was like my top book. Then the other author that stood out to me, it was 2 of his books. I read this one first. This was Perfect Peace by Daniel Black. I gave this a 5-star. By the way, if you didn't know, this was a 5-star too book. Daniel Black, Perfect Peace, about a girl who was born as a boy. Her mother turned her into a boy because she always wanted a girl, and everything that the child had to deal with, like the lies, the deceit, and when the truth was revealed, how she was expected to just go out into life as a little boy. I really did enjoy this book. This book had been on my TBR for like several years. I finally bit the bullet and I read this book, and it was a heartbreaking book, it was, but I like tear jerkers. I like stories like this, right? It made me more empathetic of a person to transgender people, I would say, to sympathize with their situation a little bit more reading this. That's why I like to read, because it definitely gives you perspectives and different sides of people's lives and what they're going through. So definitely love that book. Definitely a standout book for me. And then the other one was The Coming by Daniel Black. This told the story of our ancestors as they were taken away from their home country, brought into America on this slave ship. And the way he wrote this book was just so absolutely powerful. He humanized every character. It was a lot of characters, but they were kind of short-lived character because so much was happening to these characters, as you can imagine, as they went through this journey, right? Unfamiliar territory, on the water, and all the horrific events that they had to overcome or succumb to. And the way it was written as a countdown. It counted down to when they landed on American soil. And it was just so powerful. Definitely want to read this one again. I had to buy the physical copy because I think I did read this on my e-reader, but I definitely had to buy a physical copy. It is fiction, but it felt so real, and I'm sure some of the things that happened on this ship actually happened. Daniel Black, and I definitely want to say that he was my favorite author for 2025, along with Beverly Jenkins, but that's nothing new. I think I've already mentioned that in the previous video. So he has definitely been added to the list as my favorite author. And now I've only read 2 books by him, and that may be a little premature, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Daniel Black was my favorite author, and I am going to read his latest works soon. I have all of his works on my Kindle, because his works are kind of hard to come by because of, I guess, how they're published. St. Martin's Press. They're very expensive, but anyway, it is what it is. So in 2026, I'm going to be honing in into my taste, reading more stories that are me. I already don't really read like popular books, right? I feel like it's important to dig into catalogs of other authors, right? Work that has already been published. There's some great works out here that need to be discovered or rediscovered. I am going to be reading more of the books that are naturally drawn to me. Mostly they're period pieces. I love war novels, right? I love historical fiction. And I don't only read Black stories, which I predominantly read Black stories because I like reading about my people, but I like to read about everybody's experience. And so that is what I'm going to be doing in 2026, reading more of my taste. And so I'm going to just show loosely a set of books. It does not mean that I'm going to read these books, but these books are highly anticipated on my reading list for 2026. But I'm just going to loosely show some books that I have acquired or have already been in my collection for a while and I have yet to read. So the first book is An American Beauty. This is by Shana Abe. It is a novel of the Gilded Age. And like I said, I am definitely a Gilded Age person. I love the series, The Gilded Age, but I love period pieces. I love just the historical nature of the book. I love going back in time, right? Because I wasn't there to experience it and seeing, I know that this is fiction, but the authors write based on studying history. And so I love the twist and the element they're able to put on historical pieces. I'm just going to read a little blurb, okay, because if you have been on my channel before, I have talked about these books. So just a little synopsis. So it says, let's see, spanning New York's opulent Gilded Age and inspired by one of the most charismatic, complex, and forward-thinking women of her time, this sweeping tale from the New York Times best-selling author of The Second Mrs. Astor tells the astonishing story of Arabella Huntington, who defied both her origins and the constraints of the era to become the wealthiest women in America. I love stories like that. I actually have a book. Let me go get that. This book right here, Island Queen by Vanessa Riley. And Vanessa Riley is definitely on my list of authors I want to get into because she writes more stories that I like, period pieces about royalty, black royalty, and things like that. So this one she wrote is similar, I would say, like the storyline, but of course this is, you know, a person not of color. This one is a person of color. This lady here that she's portrayed in the story came from slavery in the Caribbean, and she built a legacy of wealth and power as an entrepreneur, similar to this. So you see what I'm going, where I'm going here. I am so excited about reading those two books. Right now, I've had this one for a while, and I have yet or have not picked it up because I've been so distracted by other books, right? Books that I really didn't necessarily like in 2025, wasted time reading those stories when I can be reading stories that I actually am interested in. So those are just two books. And then this one I bought a couple months ago. This one is called The Frozen River. This one is set historic Maine, 1789, when the Kennebec River freezes. Someone is found in, let's see, a snowstorm or something like that. I think a nurse, she finds this body, right? Yeah, she finds this body in ice. Martha Ballard is summoned to examine the body. She's a midwife. As a midwife and healer, her diary is a record of every birth and death, crime and debacle that unfolds in this close-knit community of Hollowell. Months earlier, Martha documents the details of an alleged rape committed by two of the town's most respected gentlemen, one of whom has now been found dead in the ice. So, period piece, you know, it's not about war or anything like that, but it's, you know, based on history, probably loosely based on real events. Definitely interested in that one. And then here is another Vanessa Riley. This one is A Gamble at Sunset. This is book number 1. I don't remember, let me see what series this in, but this is a series. And so I started with book number 1. I didn't want to go crazy and, you know, buy all the books or whatever in the series. I want to see if I like her writing, if I like her storytelling. So this one says, when a duke discovers this woman he loves was tricked. When a duke discovers the woman he loves was tricked into marrying another, the master chess player makes the now widowed Viscountess the highest stake wager of his life in a last-ditch effort to win her affection. He will find husbands for her 2 sisters or depart forever. Thus begins a sparkling new series from acclaimed author Vanessa Riley. So it's sort of like a romance type, but it's set in Black royal society. I know that's a made-up thing, okay? But yeah, I definitely am interested in getting into this one. Now, this one I bought, and I thought about unhauling this one for the longest because I looked at the book. The cover it just does not speak to me, right? But the book does speak to me because it's about women back in the, first of all, it's by Kate Quinn. I've never read anything by her, but I have one other book by her. So it says the Alice Network, which hinges on the unsung valor of female espionage agents in the Great War, perfectly balances a propulsive plot, faultlessly observed period detail, and a cast of characters so vividly drawn that I half expected to blink and see them standing in front of me. That's somebody's blurb. Jennifer Robson said that. But that just sums this book up, right? It's definitely something I'm interested in. And I don't know why I would just, you know, have like, maybe because of the cover just is not appealing, but the story, the plot is. And so I am going to be getting to that one in 2026. And then here's another romance, An Extraordinary Union. I've got all 3 books. A Hope Divided is book 2. And then book 3 is An Unconditional Freedom. So I was introduced by Alyssa Cole. She is the author. Several years ago, read maybe one book of hers. And I do have a thriller by her that I have yet to read. Not sure if she's writing because I haven't heard. I need to look her up to see what she's doing now. But I had this book series years and years ago. Never got to it. But I love stuff like this, y'all. So this is about, let's see here. Number 1, the Civil War, this couple, but for one scientist spy and her philosopher soldier, war could bind them together. So it's a love story based on war, the Civil War, and I'm definitely interested in reading this book. These are all my taste. And then lastly, I want to talk about a author that I will be reading. I'm going to be starting reading her books in January. I'm so excited. And it is no other than Philippa Gregory. So I talked about her in a recent video. She writes about royalty, historical fiction, royalty, right? It's a lot of power involved, dynamics, but she centers the woman's story, the woman's role, right, in the patriarchy society in which they're living in, which I don't think I've read an author who centers like a woman, high society, right? Like power dynamics. I think this is, let me see. No, this is book number 2. This is book number 2, Dark Tides. I got this one at the used bookstore in perfect condition. Bought this one from Amazon. I need to be careful because the corner is lifting, right? I need to, all these books, I have nowhere to store them, y'all. Okay, so this one is Tidelands, and this is a series. She has many, many books and many series. So I thought I would start with a series that does not seem very overwhelming. I think it's only 3 books in this series. And so this one says, on a midsummer's eve, Eleanor waits in the church graveyard, hoping to encounter the ghost of her missing husband, and thus confirms his death. Until she can, she is neither maiden nor wife nor widow, living in a perilous limbo. Instead, she meets James, a young man on the run. She shows him the secret ways across the treacherous, marshy landscape of the Tidelands, not knowing she is leading a spy and an enemy into her life. Sounds so good. Scandalous, right? Period piece, power, a woman, trying to move on with her life but can't because she's got this husband lingering in the background that may be dead. Yeah, sounds so good. Can't wait to read this one. And then I'm just going to show a book that I picked up just by accident at the thrift store. This is The Titanic Sisters by Patricia Falvey. So this one is also based in the early 1900s. I read this just recently. I gave this 4.5 stars. It was so cozy, y'all. So cozy. I went out and bought my own brand new copy because I can definitely see reading this one again. This one is perfect for like the times that we're in now. Dark, dreary. Like you can really just snuggle up on your couch and just read this book. This was a really good book, up my alley. But that is it, you guys. That is this video. So thank you so much for watching. If you have stayed to the end, I will be doing a giveaway, and this is your chance to win. If you have been a supporter of my channel, engage in my channel by leaving comments, liking my videos. And I do know, because my channel is so small, I do know those people who do support my channel and do engage in my videos. Those things really matter to me. I think it really matters to everybody doing content. So if that is you, I am doing a giveaway for reaching 100 subscribers. I'm above that now. Thank you so much. I'm not like a typical booktuber, right? I read at my own leisure. I have other hobbies, and reading is just one of them. I'm not going to neglect other things to like just read 100%. No, I'm not. I've got a full life with things going on in the background. And I always try to be authentic as possible here on my channel. I say that all to say thank you so much for watching my videos and all the sweet comments that you have left me. If you're interested in this giveaway, I will leave my email in the video down below. Send me an email and you'll have a choice of winning a $25 gift card from either Sephora, Amazon, or Barnes and Nobles. Just let me know what gift card you would like, and I'll probably end up sending you an e-gift card to your email. Or if I can't, I can't imagine I can't, because I know I can do that for Sephora. Not sure about Barnes and Noble, so I may have to buy a physical card and send it to you by mail, but hopefully I don't have to do that. It can just be an e-card as well. So it'll either be those three: Barnes and Noble, Amazon, or Sephora. That's it. And I will randomly off camera, I'm not going to come on here and do a separate video saying who won, but I will randomly choose a winner. And if I contact you, then you know you have won, and respond back to you letting you know that you didn't win, to stay tuned to other chances to win giveaways in the future. And I probably come on here and say it like at the beginning of a video or something like that, just to not leave you guys like hanging, just in case you don't read your email for some reason. So that's how I'm gonna do it. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the year. Christmas is wrapping up. I probably won't be back here, to be honest with you, until like after the new year. I'm gonna take a short break because I'm going home and spending some time with my family. My mom, who's still in a weird period, right? She's out of the woods, but she's still kind of like in a weird period right now. So I'm gonna go home and take care and love on my mother, my family, and things like that. So I probably won't be back until January, mid-January. See you in the next video. Bye.